Hello everyone, my name is Joshua. This is the 94th video of my video journal series. Today's date is Wednesday, the 13th of May, 2026. How's everyone been? I've been pretty good, thank you. And I'll start with how my day's been. My day's been pretty good, just went to school and all that, got educated. I am feeling a little bit tired though, so I'll make this a quick video, but something that's been on my mind is dumb questions. More specifically, I believe there is no such thing as a dumb question. Now, that might sound a little bit contradictory to the title, but, with dumb questions, I don't believe they exist. Every question, no matter how simplistic it is still a question. Why is the sky blue? Why is the grass green? That might seem like dumb questions for like an adult, but, you know, um, if we didn't think about that, then we wouldn't know why the sky is blue, why the grass is green. Sometimes asking the simple questions in life lead to complex answers. Like why do plants get their energy from photosynthesis? Why do we pay taxes? Why do we why do we I guess, use cars, for instance, like people will say, oh, yeah, we use cars to drive from point A to point B, but why not public transport? Well, then you get into a more complex answer, which is basically, well, you know, cars are quicker. Some people would say, it gets to their destination a lot more faster and it's quote unquote more efficient than public transport, which really isn't the case. Public transport is proven to be more efficient. But um, but you still see, at least here in Australia, a lot of people on the roads, for instance. Um, and part of that is due to the fact that public transport here in Australia can be lacking in certain areas. But it's a what some people might consider a dumb question. Why do you drive a car, for instance, and not use the bus? You know, but then you really think about it, and you're like, all right, well, if I live near an area with a frequent bus service, and the bus roughly takes the same amount of time to get to my destination, then why don't people just take the bus? I know people who live in areas pretty well served by public transportation, but yet they don't take public transport, and ask them why. It's because driving saves time and all that. But like, really, like, is it worth the money? If you live in an area with good transport, I mean, if you live in an area with like no public transport, then it's understandable. Or if you're like a tradie or someone who needs a car or a van or a utility vehicle. But my little dumb question is like, if you just going to like the city or whatever, where all the major train lines head into the city, and a lot of buses and trams and ferries do, then you're better off taking public transport. It might be a little bit cheaper. In Queensland, they have 50-cent fares. Yeah, 50-cent fares. If you want to, doesn't matter if you're going, 100 kilometers or 10 kilometers, you pay 50 cents one way. Victoria right now has free public transport on most of their modes of, public transportation, like V Line regional train services, trams, buses, um, trains, and all that. So, I feel like, um, obviously, people will take public transport if it's for free. That's, I guess, like for granted, free public transport, people, I guess, be more inclined to take it. But at the same time, my little, I guess, like dumb questions like, why do people just have that automatic view that public transport equal bad, Um, Even if, like, let's say they can get from point A to point B, um, by public transport in the same time that it takes via car. Maybe it's just um, me overthinking it, but like even in a car, you're driving, and then you might get there quicker, but then you're gonna spend time looking for a place to park your car. You park your car, then you're gonna walk. It's like people who, like, I guess, fly instead of taking trains. Often flying is a lot more quicker, but if we had high speed rail here in Australia, it would actually be competitive with airplane travel, at least from Sydney to Melbourne, that is. But yet again, there will be some people who always fly, even if Sydney to Melbourne takes 4 hours by a high speed train, which will hopefully happen in the future. Um, you know, flying, yeah, it takes around like 30, 45 minutes, but then you're going to add in the airport security times and then travel to and from the airport to the CBDs, and it quickly racks up. In fact, um, if you just take the train from, Sydney to Melbourne, you just get smack dab right in the middle of the CBD. You don't need to pay for an overpriced taxi or bus to take you into the CBD. You're right already there. So yeah, that's my, I guess, my little like dumb questions, when it comes to public transport. But I guess when it comes to like life in general, it's like, well, um, you know, why do we, um, why is it, I guess, socially acceptable to wear, suit shoes, but not like Crocs, for instance. Crocs are a lot more efficient than like suit shoes in the fact that you can just like slip them on. They got like a mini, strap. I'm wearing Crocs right now, and they feel comfortable. So why don't we wear them in the business environment? You know. But then someone will tell you, "Oh, that's a stupid question," because suit shoes look a lot nicer than Crocs. It's a lot more formal. But if you think in terms of like practicality, um, this doesn't require like any shoelaces or anything. You can just put on your strap, and yeah, like I'll prefer wearing Crocs over like suit shoes because suit shoes can be a little bit comfortable, uncomfortable. So yeah, why don't we wear Crocs to the office? Why are you gonna wear a suit to the office? People would say, "Oh, formality," but I'm like, where's the origin of that formality? Why don't we wear just jeans and a t-shirt, whatever you want to wear? But yet again, people always bring it back to formality. So yeah, some people will consider that a dumb question. Obviously, oh, you got to be formal in the office, but really, like, no one's really watching you work apart from your co-workers and your boss. It's not like society's like peeping through the office windows, going, "Ah, that guy isn't wearing a suit. I don't want service from him." I can understand like a retail or fast food environment where you need a uniform to distinguish um, excuse me, to distinguish people from one another. But if you're working in an office where you have very limited social interaction, unfortunately, why are you going to wear a suit? Formality, well, why not just jeans and a t-shirt? If no one's going to see you, why not just your pajamas then? Um, and I guess like some workplaces are slowly turning into that. I know JB Hi-Fi, for instance. They don't really have a strict uniform. It's just, yeah, you wear a lanyard and you wear like whatever you want, which I think is a lot more chill. But I guess with JB Hi-Fi, you want to know who's staff and who's like a regular customer, so it can make it a little bit difficult. But if you're working in an office where no one's going to see you, then why not just wear Crocs, for instance? It's like, why do we wear black at funerals? Well, it's to symbolize death. Well, why not just wear a white suit? Oh, because it's inappropriate. That's a dumb question. And, I feel like, um, obviously, yeah, tradition to wear black, but, I guess you wouldn't be wearing jeans and a t-shirt. That would be, I guess, a little bit too, like, quote unquote informal. But, it comes down to those, like, simple little things. Um, when I have my funeral, because obviously I'm not speaking about this like anytime soon. I'm just saying like not hypothetically. It's eventually going to happen in like 80 years or so. Um, I hope for my funeral when it comes, not to sound grim or anything, but just using this as an example. I would expect people to wear suits and all that. Just wear what you want to wear for my funeral. I'm putting that in my will specifically. Wear jeans and t-shirt. I don't care. It's not like I'm gonna pop out of the grave going, "That guy is not wearing a suit. You're not invited." Like it doesn't like really matter. Like, um, I guess with like weddings and all that, everyone wears white, but with funerals, everyone wears black. Why not just wear black for both events? Just makes it a lot more simpler, doesn't it? But yeah. So I guess like life really has a lot of, I guess, stupid questions, quote unquote. But they seem simple on the outside, but trying to answer them without having to repeat the exact same point is a little bit, um, you know, it's a little bit hard. And I think it's sometimes the quote unquote stupid questions that are actually the most smartest. It's like, why do we have two major political parties in Australia? Maybe that's not a stupid question, more like an insightful one. But like, ask someone, what are the two major political parties in Australia? And I say, oh, it's Labour and the Liberals. But then you ask why, and then that requires a little bit more thought. I can most probably answer that. It's because the Australian Labor Party is the oldest political party in Australia. Um, but yeah, even then, yeah, I can't even really like I guess explain it in a way that everyone will sort of understand without having to make this video like 10 hours long, you know. But long story short, Liberal Party was founded by Robert Menzies, 1944. The reason why they grew popularity is because I think there wasn't because UAP dissolved under Robert Menzies in his first term, and then he founded the Liberal Party. So I think that was the um, really only major conservative force back then. When it was formed. I might be a little bit wrong about that, but I know UAP got absolved because of Palmer, but not Palmer, sorry, because of Menzies. And then Clive Palmer started his own United Australia Party, which is not linked to the original United Australia Party, and that's a dumb question. Why did Clive Palmer name his political party United Australia when it has nothing to do with the original United Australia, but now he has a political party called Trump and the Patriots, or does he? Because I don't know if that party is still registered or not. Clive Palmer is just just very sloppy with his political career. He keeps on registering political parties, then deregistering stuff, and spends $1 billion on a Senate seat. Obviously you can see a little bit of my bias in here that I, have strong feelings against, I guess, Clive Palmer and his policies, and obviously that's a question. Why do not like Clive Palmer? You know, um, I guess it might be a stupid question to ask an Aussie, unless you're like someone who supports Clive Palmer's ideology. But I just don't like his sort of because I don't want to get sued. I know he's gonna go, that Joshua Kinney's ruining my reputation as if I'm a billionaire and I have plenty of cash to survive the rest of my lifetime. I guess if he needs more money, but yeah, I guess I just don't like his policies. I don't think he's got like any sort of solid backing, you know. Um, but yeah, so I guess there's a quote unquote stupid questions in life, and I guess to like conclude, don't be afraid to ask even the most simplest questions, even as an adult. Why is the sky blue? Why is the grass green? Why do we commute to work? For instance, why do we work? Why do we earn a salary? Well, people would say obviously to earn money, but then you would say, oh, why, have a job when you could just, um, you know, buy and sell Pokemon cards for a living, for instance, or just do the stock market for a living. And then people would say, oh, because I'm not experienced in buying Pokemon cards or doing the stock market or any form of, I guess, quote unquote, gambling. Um, you know, so maybe that was a bad analogy to use, but that is, I guess, a quote unquote stupid question. And then you think to yourself, yeah, why do we, commute to work at specific hours, have specific shifts, have specific roles, have specific jobs, and all that? Why is work devised the way that it is? Why do I sit in a cubicle for 10 hours and then, go home and eat and then rinse and repeat over the course of 40 years? Um, you know, and I think when you question that, you question, well, uh, yeah, I think that I don't want this to be on a, I guess, grim note or anything, but I feel like questioning that could be like, well, maybe I should get paid more. Maybe my work needs to be recognized more. Maybe my life is more than being stuck in a cubicle for 10 hours a day, or how many hours a day that you work. Assuming you go to the office early and you clock out late, but who knows? You know, yeah, pretty much that's it. Why is my jumper green, for instance? What inspired the manufacturers to make this green and not pink or purple or red or burgundy? Um, I might not know the answer. I know this came in the blue color as well. I've got a blue version of this. But, I guess some people say, oh, because green looks a lot nicer than burgundy, for instance. But why is that? Well, maybe that's because of human taste, human perception, and there's always going to be someone who likes burgundy jumpers, right? I'm sort of halfway. I wouldn't mind a burgundy jumper, but I will pick the green one because, yet again, I guess, individual taste. I like the green jumper. Why do I like the green jumper? What's behind that human taste, I wouldn't really know. That's it. Like, I guess those sort of questions can't really be answered. Why do I keep on stuttering, for instance? Yeah, and I guess to like really cap it off, if you're in school, university, or even just in the workforce or whatever, just question the don't be afraid to question the small things, even if you might sound stupid. In fact, I'll say the stupider that you feel asking a question, I think the more it deserves to be answered. If someone says, "Oh, that's a stupid question," then they should be able to answer it in a single sentence, and then not having to repeat themselves. Go, "Oh, well, actually, it's because of this. It's because of this. It's because of this." They should be able to give a coherent response. And even then, they only give, I guess, a surface level meaning, but you can dig deeper and deeper and deeper. It's like, why do we see rainbows? Oh, it's because, when it rains, the way that we like perceive light and all that due to the raindrops. I'm not the expert when it comes to, I guess, rainbows and how they form, but, you could eventually dig deeper and deeper and deeper and just say, well, why does it rain, for instance? Why do we have life here on Earth? What is the meaning of life? I think that's what every question basically comes back to. What is the meaning of life? I don't know. Um, so yeah, I guess, every question in the universe could sort of go back to, what is the meaning of life? And yet again, we might not. I think the meaning of life can't be defined in a single answer. I reckon it's a lot more complex that I think we'll never be able to understand or even explain the meaning of life. But yet again, depends on individual context and humans and all that. But yeah, I guess it's been really a thought-provoking discussion about quote-unquote stupid questions, but we actually got into pretty good questions. So can't really be stupid questions, or is that a stupid question in of itself? Is it stupid to ask for stupid questions, but actually give some pretty insightful questions? Who knows? But anyway, and one, I guess, small quote of wisdom for today, other than ask and question things that you're uncertain of, because that was pretty much today's topic. Um, One little, I guess, wise quote for today is, um, what is a little wise quote that I can give to all of you? Um, hmm. Yeah, again, I don't really come into these videos planned, do I? I guess it'll be to, you know, I guess it'll be to sometimes stop overthinking stuff. I know I've been overthinking stuff throughout this video. It all ties back to, I guess, the theme of today's video. But sometimes, um, I think overthinking stuff can make things too complex. Don't start like questioning every single little thing because it'll drive you mad. Um, Sometimes, yeah, you're just gonna, I guess, chill out. Just say to yourself, all right, well, maybe me overthinking the situation. For example, someone says something to you, and you overthink, man, did they mean it in like a positive way? Did they mean it in a negative way? Sort of thing. Or if you leave the house and you're like, man, did I forget to lock the door? Did I forget to lock the side gate? Wait, the side gate is open because I locked the key. But wait a minute, what if that was yesterday? What if I'm just misremembering? Obviously, I get those like thoughts a lot of the time. And I guess um, sometimes I'm like, oh well, if the side gate's unlocked, then that's my fault. But I'll take all the cautions necessary, and I'm like, well, maybe I'm just gonna stop overthinking what every single little word that someone says to me means. Stop overthinking why whenever I'm writing an essay, for instance, and I go way too deep on the analysis, and then I overthink it to the point where I'm missing the actual question. Sometimes the best approach is to take it simple. You know, I guess if you're doing an essay, you kind of want to like go into depth into your analysis, but don't go too into depth where you like, I guess, get distracted from the main point and you overthink too much where you start contradicting yourself. All right, don't do that. All right, just pick I guess, a main thing because you can't really report on all things at once. Pick a main thing and just like stick to it, sort of. And like I said, question the dumb little things in life, but I guess don't go too far with it. Otherwise, you'll just start questioning everything and you're going to go like insane, like I've been in this video. But anyway, that's all I have to say. Take care. See you all next time. Bye. Catch you all tomorrow.